like stressing out. That's like the nature of the world right now. And I just got a little story I'm going to tell you. One, to put it out there in the record, and two, because it is what's happening with the Sugar Shack, and it is drama. To give you a heads up, it is drama. And so I'm sitting out here with me and my cup of morning tea. Some of you guys have morning Joe. I have morning tea, and my dog, who is enjoying the fact that I'm outside with him because I don't let him run like some of the people here do. They let their dogs run around. One neighbor, their dog is actually I've actually stood there and watched their dog try to attack and kill my cats. And they have this other dog that will bark at you for everything. You know, yap yap. You know those yap yaps. They think they're like a million miles tall, and they'll go after you. But no, I keep my dog inside with me, or if he's outside, he goes outside to potty and comes directly in. If he's going to be outside for more than 5 minutes, I am with him because I want to put a fence back there, or rather, replace the fence that used to be there. Well, the fence is still there. What I'm saying is, I get the fence fixed, and so that he can have a place to run without having to have me up his little bum, but that's not happening right now. I've got the postal diggers. It's just with one drama after another. Like the other half lost his job about a couple of weeks ago, and that set us back enormously. Fortunately, he did find another job, and he started it yesterday. But with that came some expenses like buying, well, not buying boots because the company did give him a voucher, but he had to switch his license from our house up north to here, for example, and that was a little expensive. And then there's the fact that our car that we haven't even had a full year, they it's clear that it was sold to us with blown heads because the uh, the Dodge company, because we had to take it to the Dodge dealer, they want to replace the engine, and we're waiting to find out today if it's going to be under warranty. My husband says if it's not under warranty, he is returning the vehicle, and to hell with his credit, which is about the only option you've got whenever a car lot does that to you. We didn't have good credit to start with, though. Not with everything that's happened. It's been a hell of a last 5 6 years. Um, The mosquitoes here are out of control. They didn't used to be that way, actually. I mean, they were mosquitoes because this is, wetlands, and still is back there like it's supposed to be, which is why it's a preserve. Um, but there used to be a lot more nature things here to help control and keep things in balance. And it's very clear to me whenever I come out in the morning that things are just really out of balance. So there used to be bats. We used to see bats every night, and I need to put in a bat house, and I'll be putting it in the far back, away from everyone. But even if I put it up here, bat houses are protected. But I am told, Nista, you come back here. That dog. I am told that there's a lot of corruption in the local council, where things that are protected, the reason why they're getting torn down is because people are getting paid to allow it to happen. I don't know if that's true. This is the rumor. Anyway, so one thing about the preserve here is I have a very large collection of cats. They're COVID cats. This is to say, before COVID, I had a reasonable collection of cats, and they were all rescues. A couple were literally kittens when we found them in the forest, starving. And the up where we were living up there up north, the cats are very mistreated there. It's close to Amish country. The Amish don't view animals the way uh, um, mainstream Western people do. There's just completely two different cultures there. And so I once mentioned spaying and neutering your cats in a Dollar General, and stood in line with, honest to God, 6 or 7 people pissed at me for even suggesting such a thing. These were all people who were complaining about the cat population. So that was the environment up there. So I had these cats that had rescued, and there were these kittens. that literally had been dumped on my husband at work. And so he had brought them home. Shelters were full. There was nowhere to get them to, so we had these kittens. And then COVID happened. And that's when the kittens got old enough to spay. But there were no vets. Everything was shut. And so I had kittens. And I had two females that went into heat. By the time COVID was over, I had these really heavily gravid queens. And we found a vet who actually was open because things weren't completely open yet. And he refused to abort the kittens. The mothers were too far along. So give me some credit here. Even though I dislike the idea of abortion, I was willing to do that to control the how many cats I had because I knew there was no other option. So I ended up with two litters of kittens. We tried getting with cat adoption, local cat adoption, hit up the Karen problem. And for those who have never tried to get with cat fostering and cat rescue societies, because I have always rescued cats and always tried to take care of my cats. But for those of you who have tried to deal with that, you hit these Karen problems where some of the societies are run by these cliques of women who will literally look down their nose on you if you're not exactly like them. The first time I had ever garbage truck. The first time I had ever tried to deal with cat rescue, we had a bunch of cats that had been foisted on us, and we were fostering. And these women, they would talk to me like I was dirt. We had a nice house. We had the cats were shots update, everything that you know the snot expects, and it wasn't enough for them. There was and same thing with rabbit. I had been handed a rabbit to care for, and he and I got along famously, and this rabbit did not get along with anybody, but he and I got along. But I would get emails in all caps getting shouted at because I was doing something that the person who fostered Bippy before me I had done, and I was told, this is what you do. Well, this lady didn't agree with that, so she would shout at me. So this is for many people who try to do this, if you are not the right soccer mom, this is what you face. So these people expected us to just dump the cats at a kill shelter. I mean, it was just horrible. So I ended up with all these cats, and uh, the only person that ever showed interest in adopting them asked really scary red flag questions that made me think that what he wanted to adopt them for was not to love and hold. You have to really be really careful because some people will adopt free cats or whatever. They'll even pay us the small. If you do a small homing fee, they're even willing to pay for that. You got to be careful because they aren't getting these animals to keep as pets. They use them to feed their snakes. They use them to train their bulldogs for dog fighting. You got to be really careful. So, and then there was one time when we first came here, we thought we had a home for one of the cats, and the girl decided, no, 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 she wanted a kitten. So, see, all my cats are like 3 years old now. So it's like, well, they're not that old. COVID hasn't been over that long. But anyway, my point is they're adults. And so I have these cats, and they're my COVID cat collection. I come here to this neighborhood, which there was some unsavory things in this neighborhood when I was a kid. I'm talking really bad things. I have been sexually assaulted as a kid here. I'm, I'm just going to flat out tell you. Yes, you know. There were things that just happened here. And yet, still, past the perverts that were here, this place was a lot friendlier than what I came back to. I I had posted on Instagram yesterday that we have raised a very hateful, selfish, not very self-aware, angry generation. I'm probably using more words than I did yesterday, and it is true. We have several sets of neighbors where there didn't used to be so many neighbors. We have several sets of neighbors. So I'm not going to point which neighbor has been very unfriendly from the get-go, uh, because that would not be right. But that is the problem. We're talking, you try to sneak off, bad puppy. This is why we watch him. Bad puppy. Where are you at? Let's see if I can get the camera. Yes, 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 yes. You're a good boy. Okay, good boy. Loving, loving, love, love, love. Okay, yes, yes. Get over here. Get over here. Um, I don't know where to begin. Uh, I came from a 3,000, well, almost, not 3,000, but almost 3,000 square foot home to take care of my mom down here in a place that's not even 1,000. Tiny homes are stupid, you people. I have said it once, I'll say it again. Tiny homes are dumb. There's not enough room in a tiny home unless all you do is go into a corner and sleep. I wonder if that dump truck could drive any faster. You hear it? It is doing the derby. But, and this is not as country as it used to be, but it's still country. And the thing about the country that a lot of um, the more urban people took two completely different cultures. You've got to understand it's a cultural thing. I don't know why people seem to think they get this idea that you both speak American English, therefore it's going to be the exact same culture, and it's not. It's two completely different cultures. And one thing about out here is you have outdoor cats, you have indoor outdoor cats, and the place was not adjusting well for the cats, so I elected to allow some, not all, some of the cats to be indoor outdoor if they so desired. And the cats who do it, I I have them pretty trained. You know, they've got a period of time they can go out, and then you call them. There's a special call, like it's almost like a yodel that I do, because there are ways to train your cats. I don't know why people think that cats don't train, but they do. They actually train very well. You just got to know how. So my cats are trained. They all know their names, each and every one of them. Yes. I do not ignore my cats. And so I've got cats that go in and out. And cats are also territorial. And they have carved out their territory because my cats are not the only cats in the neighborhood. There's actually a sizable colony up the road, like on the other side of that neighbor. And so you see a lot of kittens running back and forth and stuff, which my females are spayed. I had 2 litters. I cannot afford more. My friend helped me take care of the problem back when I didn't have money. I mean, I am going to be entering into with the owner of the very last silver dust cat in the world. Yes, honest to God. Well, there might be others, but the only one that's not neutered. He is the last, and I have teamed up with the owner to help save the breed. But when it comes to just flat out having a bunch of cats, no thanks. I had a neighbor from around the corner holding his cat in tears because it's his house, but his future mother-in-law was forcing him to get rid of his cat. It's his house. That woman have his damn cat, asking me if I could take it, and I'm like, how about you just go back and put your foot down to this woman, because aren't you the one paying the bills? I'm just saying. Like I'm okay with like, yeah, don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. In this case, that woman, no, it's just a cat. Let him have his cat. My gosh. So I will turn down a cat that comes. I don't want no more cats. No, I can't afford it. And we had went through a really hard time where I couldn't take the animals to the vet properly or anything. I mean, it's been a very rough couple of years, and we were just getting back on our feet, and then the husband loses his job. But anyway, so cats, lots of cats, and cats do what they do. They carve out their territory. The dang idiots want to go into this yard and that yard because cats roam. They create very large territories, and yet they have carved their territory. They've got a limit and a range that they're going to go to, And if the neighbors don't mind, as most of them don't, that we have talked to, because we talk to our neighbors that will actually talk to us and make sure things are okay, and we talk to them and we clear things. And if they've got a problem, all they got to do is talk to us normally without shouting or calling names or basically being petulant children that need to learn some self-awareness. And we're willing to do what needs to be done because we like the idea of being good neighbors. Uh, but for the most part, neighbors, they're like, yeah, well, and one of the neighbors is, yeah, well, they've got lots of cats too. So it's like, we're not the only ones. Uh, but the one neighbor, the problem neighbor, they've been one time when my cats got out before they were running around, one of my cats got loose, and I was trying to rein it back in, and I'm looking for it, and I heard them over there, and I knocked on the door politely to see if they had seen him or something. Would not answer the door. My husband went over there. We were trying to round up a cat who refused to come inside. My gosh, this cat, he's not allowed outside. He's not, because he won't come back. And they literally got up on their porch, shunned my husband, and walked inside and slammed the door. We have tried to be friendly with these asshats, and I don't, and that's a polite word for them. And it's just not, they actively have no desire to be good neighbors. Uh, but the cats like it over there, though, so they go over there despite my best efforts. And the girl, and I do mean girl, I can't call her a woman after yesterday, screaming at me over because there's like bushes, and so she's like screaming at me over the bushes from her porch. You can't really understand half of what she's saying because of it. And best I can gather is she's not happy about a cat, I guess. And so, you rein them in, you bring in the cat, you put them inside. My house does not, yeah. Well, this has been going on for a while. And one of the neighbors, another one with cats that she lets run around, decided that, and I know it was her because the policeman that I spoke with had said a few things. She had decided that my orange cat, who was a bit of a bully, being a Tom, but he was also going to be used for the Silver Dust project. So he was not neutered because there was a specific trait that we wanted to put in to the line, and she would reported that he was aggressive and dangerous. And the cop had told me this because I had called the cop because he went missing. And I'm going to file reports. I file reports. I keep track of everything. I used to be a purchasing secretary for civil government, so I know to track and file. And that's one reason why there's so many records out there where I'll tell the world what's happened, whether somebody watches it or not. And so when my Mongo, because I went looking for him up and down the street, because he had been kidnapped, and I do mean kidnapped, while I was up north handling my house. And I come back, he's gone, and I couldn't count on the people I had left him. Anyway, so I'm going up and down the street looking for him. And in a certain direction on the street, I hear a door open and shut. And then next thing I know, my Mongo's running to me, very distressed, which Mongo is actually diagnosed with cat PTSD. Yes, I do take my cats to the vet, like I said. My Mongo is actually diagnosed with cat PTSD. And this did not help him any. And apparently, I now consider the neighborhood a street of Karens, the street Karens. One of the street Karens had apparently kidnapped him and turned him into the local Cats Angels, which what they do is they'll catch feral cats and they they spay and neuter. His ear is notched, and he is neutered, and so now his trait is gone. And it was a rare trait, too. Oh, I was mad. I was ready to sue mad. It's like, okay. I mean, the only reason why I knew people were having a problem with Mongo is because the cop had told me after he had been kidnapped. Um, yes, be a responsible pet owner. You know what's also good? You talk to the people. And there was another cat I had, Sweetie Belle. She was the sweetest thing. And she was one of the ones that had been born. And in my care, she had always sat by me. She and I were very tight. She would like body hug me. And she never left the yard, inside a lot. And uh, she had a collar. She had an appointment to go to the vet and get chipped. She disappeared. And I thought, well, maybe an owl, because she was very gorgeous. She was a one of those types of calicos that's I forget. It's not a tortie. It's a torgie. She was a torgie, and she was also teacup sized, so she was worth money. And one of the neighbors voluntarily decided to tell me how animal control would be picking things up, whether they had collars or not, and let me know exactly that my so-called friend and neighbor was one of the problems. I mean, let's just say methinks he protests too much. And, it's one thing for one person to say something, but when one person says word for word what the cops have said they've been told, it stops looking like a coincidence. So, Sweetie Belle was stolen. Uh, One of our cats was found dead in the garbage can, which maybe the cat was in there and drowned, because that was when the storm came through last year. Um, but it's like, okay. And then another one disappeared. And now, mind you, I don't always let the cats out. So this is not happening like, oh, all the time, because they're always out, you know. And then my other dog, Loki, you'll notice not around me. Well, he also was kept inside and only under supervision, but he was part terrier. And if anybody understands terriers, a terrier is going to figure out how to escape and run. Loki had figured out, because he was also half collie, and collies like to poop in private. He had figured out that he could go to the bushes to quote unquote poop, use the bushes as cover, and run away. I'm sorry. Loki, crazy dog. And so you had to really be on him. But so I would often catch him doing it. Sometimes I would not. Did my best. Uh, the last time he did it, he ran off, came back finally a few hours later that night, and had a seizure. We took him to the vet, cleared our bank account to try to save his life. Um, Turns out he did indeed have heartworms, and so the vet, obviously, the way people do, centered on that, and it was up to me to figure out what had happened. So I looked up the symptoms and everything, and let's just say that a heart attack slash heartworm problem, when things start to fail, has one set of symptoms. Loki's symptoms were more in line with poisoning and Freon poisoning. Uh, so we've had a dog poisoned, most likely. This has turned into a very caustic and unfriendly neighborhood because of the outsiders that have moved in. Clearly, people who don't understand life in this kind of area and are coming in with their old set of ideals and are taking it out on people who have nothing to do with them. I mean, come to me and complain about my dog, and I'm glad to tell you how, look, I keep him inside, and I'm sorry. It isn't like I purposefully let him loose like some people. I mean, like I said, there's neighbors who have their dogs running around. They aren't even trying. I'm more responsible than that. So, one of my indoor cats, Alice, she's beautiful. She's a Torgie, which is a type of calico. It's really neat because her toes kind of remind me of monkey ice cream. But she's got this orange stripe that goes down and it ends at the bottom of her nose. So she looks so very serious. She's not, but she looks so serious, as she always has. So I'm always like my serious Alice. She never goes outside. She did love it at first, and we could not get her inside. She would like slip out, and we were like chasing her to get her in because she loved chasing the leaves and the lizards. But another thing about having a preserve is when you have cats, you don't let them out a lot. So, it's not good for the preserve when you're trying to restore what's going on here in this state. So she's, you know, completely indoor. And when she got over being out, stopped wanting to go out, so that's easy. But yesterday she went out and promptly disappeared, which was not like her. It's completely not like her. Like going out for a minute, coming back in, that would have been like her. Going out and disappearing until tomorrow, no. So I'm calling for her. It's like 11:30 in the middle of the day in the heat. I have been sick. I have had bronchitis. I still have bronchitis. When I first started getting sick, it was an ear infection. The doctor was not worried about it, so I'm having to like fight it on my own. And which, when I get bronchitis, it clings and clings and clings. So sooner or later, the doctor will listen to me and I'll get medicine. But until then, I've got to weather it out. And so I'm slouchy. I'm in night clothes. I don't feel good. I'm calling for my cat. And there's a specific yodel you do. It's Alice. And then you go, come here. And come here is universal to get them all to come. And they do. They come because they know, oh my gosh, food. And I could go kitty, 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 which is your normal yodel. But I've noticed that turning their names into a song is more effective. So Alice is her song. And I'm calling. And the more she doesn't come, the more I'm thinking she might be far away and I'm trying to get louder. And I know the direction they come in when they do come normally. So I go up the road a pace, not far, just past my property, right in front of that one neighbor. And I'm not thinking nothing of it. And I'm standing there calling for Alice. I don't really want to go farther. I don't feel good. My energy is low. And on the one side of me is a set of neighbors that when I first got here, I was warned that they have a reputation of killing animals. And then there's the other across the street is the angry neighbor. And the one set are on their porch having a chat, observing me look desperately for my cat to get her back inside, which that's, by the way, considered at large, just so you know. So, you want to complain about my cats being at large, well, I'm trying not to get my cat at large. And the crazy neighbor next door steps on her porch, her little bottle blonde, and starts screaming at me, "Your cat is not in my yard." I didn't say it very loudly. I was like, good, because I'm not in your yard looking. And she just continues on this tirade, mad that I'm calling for my cat in the middle of the day because I guess it was too loud in the country with an acre between our houses. Does she think this is an apartment building? The fuck? I've actually seen reports of some farms, or at least one, there's a meme about it actually. This farm put a sign on the edge of their property that this is a farm and animals make noises and poop and fart and do smells. Because we have this generation of idiots, well, okay, that's harsh. We have this generation of people who were not raised with things like, I'm guessing the cow goes moo. And it is true, they did take a lot of that out of schools, where the schools actually used to teach about the farm. And I can tell you from when I was a substitute teacher, I did not see a trace of that, and that was years ago. So we've got this generation of people, many of them have no idea about the country. Many of them have no idea about farm life. Many of them have no idea about animals, and it shows. And even so, out in an area like this, I know that there used to be cell phones and people rely on cell phones and everything. But when I was growing up, you would shout, "Hey, can I borrow a cup of sugar?" Because there were no cell phones. And I'm pretty sure my cat does not carry a cell phone for me to be calling her to ask her where she's at so I can pick her up. So I'm going to call for my cat. And this is not an apartment building. This is this is still very country where I'm at. Oh, they're trying to stop it. They're trying to ruin it here. They're doing their best. They're tearing this down and that down. But for the most part, where I sit right now is still pretty damn country. And you're going to do things like yodel and call for your animals and be responsible and pull them in. And she's going on and on, crazy, crazy, crazy. And I engaged for 2 seconds, realized, okay, this girl is nuts. Went back to calling my cat. I don't have time for some spiteful, shallow person getting on to me for trying to handle my business. I'm trying to find my cat. I'm more worried about my cat than I am her. And she's screaming at me. And I lost my temper for a minute. And I was like, "Alice, Alice, Alice." And she's like, "Oh, you bitch." No, 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 no. I'm not the one being the bitch here. You're the one being a bitch because you're the one on your porch shouting at somebody who's minding their own business, that's looking for their animal, that is beside themselves with worry, that is, that has been sick. And you are on your porch shouting and raising hell, and it's clear by your clothes that you're not trying to sleep or anything. And even so, if you did have to sleep because you have graveyard shift, all you got to do is say, "Hey, can you not do that? I'm trying to sleep." Be polite. All those manners your mama obviously didn't teach you. And I would have been glad to stop. But what happened instead is I got somebody on their porch screaming as if I was in their yard or something, calling me names too. And some of the stuff I couldn't quite make out what she was saying because she was so foamy, mouthy, ranty. But I swear it almost sounded like a threat. And so I called for a little bit longer, but after a certain amount of time, if the cat's not coming, they're not going to come. Now, with Mongo, he'd hear me. It would take him an hour to get to me, but he would come home. And where I was back up north, I could actually see him coming up the road, a bugger, because he'd get out and run off. But here, knowing the territory that they've got here, she wasn't coming back. So I stopped. There's only so far you can call. And then I called the police, not to have the crazy lady arrested, but I want a report. And the police were more worried about my cat and lecturing me about cats being at large than they were the fact that I had been threatened and called names and had a problem with my neighbor that I needed a report on for my record keeping. So that let me know that the report probably isn't even going to talk about that because I've had cops not cover what I called them for before. There was one time I had a house up in Georgia, and I came down here to visit my parents for the weekend. Came back, and somebody had broken into my home and partied in it all weekend long. My dog was dead under the house. Um, the place stank. I mean, it was horrible. And I had toddlers at the time. I was a single mother with toddlers. So I called the cops to get a report, and the cop proceeded to write the report in such a way that it made me look bad as a mother. He was a total asshole. So I know, I know about, people are talking currently about, oh, the legal system has been weaponized. I'm like, you think? Fact of my life, Native Americans, we know all about that. Something my dad taught me. He had seen it. Yes, yes. The legal system is weaponized quickly, especially when you've got bias and corruption or good old boys protecting their buddy. The the woman told the female, she was a female cop, and she was polite. Her tone was even, but there was a couple of times her tone changed so that It was a little, just a, I detected a hint of, yeah. And so she's like, you need to call animal control about the matter. When this happens, to start getting them to make a report. I'm like, yeah, no, 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 I'm done. I've called you guys 3 times to get reports, and 3 times, and the only time I was ever taken seriously was the first time, and that was the cop that told me, some of the things my neighbors were saying. He was the only one that was on my side. I'm not going any further. I mean, this area is just as corrupt as it's always been, apparently. And so I take my cats with me when I go back to my house. I'm supposed to go back and forth. It's just I'm stranded right now because of car trouble and money trouble. So, the cats will be leaving the area quickly, except for you know, maybe the couple that my brother has adopted. But yeah, no, the cats are inside. They're inside a lot. I do my best with that. It's just, there's only so much you can do. Um, but I am a bitch, apparently, for trying to get my cat in by someone who complained that my cats were not in. The logic is not there. I don't think there's any logic to this. I think it's just pure hatred, to be honest. Pure hatred. Uh, so when it comes to that, that means that you got to be aware of the climate around you, especially when you're maintaining an area like this. Um, because there's going to be somebody who's going to object to the fact that it's a preserve sooner or later, because they're tearing everything down, and people are idiots, and I guess they don't like to breathe oxygen. Now, when it comes down to that, I'm not going to say my family are pagans, but there's family lore that currently it seems I'm the last one practicing it. With my parents passed away, plus my parents had joined this Christian Cherokee thing. I became the last one. And so there's family lore, and there'll be things I will be doing now to protect the preserve on that front as well. Uh, it is what it is. I'm still. I mean, wow, the craziness of some people. I cannot get over how frothing at the mouth nuts she was. Like you see these videos of these people, like that guy in the square screaming no during Trump's inauguration, like that was going to change anything, or oh, I can't think of anything, but these videos where people are like attacking people in cars, you know, and the whole reason why the word Karen is how the name Karen became a word for bad people, which is kind of sucks for the poor name Karen. I And then I've got this person on their porch frothing their mouth at me because they can't mind their own business. You know, um, I don't know. It's disappointing in humanity. I am very disappointed in humanity, um, and I'm not happy about the neighborhood. I have to tell you, if I were like a multi-billionaire, I would buy all of the properties on this in this cul-de-sac. That's not a cul-de-sac. In this circle, I would buy the whole circle. I would remove the trailers, and the preserve would be expanded. Um, and I would work to restore this area back to the way it was, and in the hopes that the pitcher plant would have a place to thrive, because pitcher plants are endangered here, or on the watch list depending on the type, for the pitcher plant and the bat house. And yeah, I would do all this, but I don't have multi-millions. I'm not Trump. I'm not a Biden. I'm just me. But that's what I would do. And I would even pay people like twice the market value of their home so they could have a chance of getting a better place somewhere else. You know, as for the hateful person next door, I feel like if they want the world to act like it's an apartment building, perhaps they should move back into an apartment building, or I don't know, try China. You know, a lot of people they want to impose all these watch and rules on people, and they're okay with like controlling other people's lives, and they should try living in some place that their lives are controlled and see how much they like it. The thought. But so that is the drama with the Sugar Shack that happened yesterday. Today, for the Sugar Shack, I have those some of those corn kernels I showed you last time. I've got them in a bowl of water to see if they'll sprout for winter planting, and I've got to do some research on that so I do it right. And let's hope that I actually do more than grow a couple of little corn things that are like that big. I am the world's worst Indian. I can't grow corn and I hate turkey. All right, that's enough rambling. I'm gonna go about my business now. I have work to do. You know, I had to cancel my because I was supposed to work a fair this weekend. And I was supposed to work at a fair next weekend, and I had to cancel both because of the car trouble, and the money trouble. But I do need to go back up north soon and take all of my cats with me because that's what I do. But I'm gonna go now. I can't think of anything else important here to say. Muskanawish.